and welcome back to Gapey's Garden. This is part 2 of the garden update for May, and we'll start here in the herb bed. We have anise hyssop, which is a good herb for teas, and then this is the golden oregano. If you saw one of my previous updates earlier in the year, this was all green, but since the sun has decided to come out, it's turned a yellow, nice golden color. And then here we have rue, and I planted this last fall, and it survived the winter. I haven't used it yet or even know what to do with it yet, so I'll have to do some research on that one. And I have a few different sages. This is a variegated variety. It's kind of cool. I think it's called pineapple sage maybe. And then this is a regular sage, and it's just starting to get some flowers, so I'm going to leave those on and the bees will enjoy that. And then we have Valerian, and that's an herb or a medicinal herb that's used for aiding sleep. And I haven't used that yet. I think typically you use the root, but I've heard other people have used the leaves on their animals, and it seems to be pretty good in helping them calm down on like the 4th of July. And then we have lavender, and I think this might be chamomile, a volunteer. I've got a few volunteers of dill in here as well, and borage always comes up in this bed. And then this is a lemon thyme variegated variety, and we have more sage. This one I just planted last fall from a plant swap. And then this is not lavender, it's rosemary, and the variety is called barbecue. It kind of grows in a tall, interesting shape, and it did pretty well over winter. I just planted it last year. It's putting out a lot of new growth this spring. And then the bed next to this we have our raspberries, and the bumblebees have been all over. I don't see them yet this morning, but the flowers have just started to bloom on these, so we should have some raspberries here pretty soon. This is there's a bumblebee right there. But yeah, they just started blooming. And this is a golden everlasting variety, so it should be getting raspberries all summer long. And then the bed next to it is the blueberries. So we have actually a rhubarb here in the blueberries, which I've been meaning to take out because it likes to crowd out the blueberries, which is probably not a good thing. So we have 10 different varieties of blueberries here. We should have a really nice blueberry crop because we've really been getting a lot of flowers this year on these bushes. And then the bed next to that has the asparagus, and I planted peas for the first time this year and decided to put them in the asparagus bed, and they're just starting to get some flowers. This is a Cascadia variety. I thought they would climb up this fence, but they seem to be climbing up the asparagus instead, which is probably fine. The asparagus doesn't seem to mind. And then we have all of our mints here on this side. And as well, we've got our first artichoke that's overwintered, and it's putting out a lot of new growth. So for the mints, this here is, I think it's called Berries and Cream. And then the one next to that, this is just your regular old mint that was actually here in this bed when I moved in. And then next to that we have a patch of chocolate mint. And then this big thing here is the lemon balm, which looks like it's about ready to harvest here. And we also have pineapple mint, which is a neat one. It's got a kind of a fuzzy variegated leaf. Oh, and then this one here in the middle, I think that's the ginger mint. I planted that last year, but it might get crowded out by the other mints if I don't kind of keep it separate. And we also have a bunch of strawberries growing all in the pathways, which for some reason the chickens didn't end up digging those out. And then here we have the squash bed, and I found last night one of my melons was eaten to the ground. So that was the Asian apple melon, which I was looking forward to growing. So I'm pretty sad about that. The one next to it is the Kajari melon. And I just put this cage around it because I'm not sure what is eating these. It could be a rat or it could be slugs. So I put some slug bait in there. Or it could have been the bunny. I'm not really sure, but I could tell it's been nibbling on that plant as well. These other three are the winter squashes, and they're a lot bigger, so I'll just keep an eye on these and make sure they don't eat those too. But I did put some slug bait around all of these. But the winter squash I'm growing this year are Marina di Chiogga. And then here we have, let's see, how do you say that? Galeux Asins, I think is how you say that. And then we also have delicata. So I'll be planting a loofah here in the spot next to it. And I've got that germinating in the greenhouse. And I'm going to wait till it gets a little bigger because I don't want it to get eaten up. Alright, let's take a look at another bed. I think we have one more to go. This bed is next to the greenhouse, and it's the only one that's not in a raised bed. This is just directly in the ground. So we have some more cabbage. This is the Calaboose Cabbage, which is another red one, and I grew this one last year and it did really well. I have all these cages around everything to keep the rabbit out because it was getting in here. You can see that there's still a lot of damage on this one. And then we have the Roselle Hibiscus. It's still pretty small. I just put these out a few weeks ago, but it's not doing that great, but we'll keep an eye on it. I have another one over on this side here, and it's doing a little bit better, but still not looking super well. And then I'm going to have some more summer squash over here. This is the Patisson Gold Marble Scallop, and I'm going to be planting a Goldini zucchini right next to it here pretty soon. And then we have our cucumbers. So I have 3 tender greens, 3 lemon cucumbers, and then 3 of the fin de Meaux. And we also have some yellow tomatillos over here. And I did put some separate cages around these. These are just large tomato cages, so that should support those just fine. And then under this contraption here I have some more lettuce. So this is some more red romaine, and then I have some of that romaine that has the red kind of speckles on it. And I've got this under a shade cloth because lettuce, again, really doesn't like sun. Let me go next here. This is where the potatoes are planted. It looks like we do have one potato starting to come up. I'm not seeing any others. We just have a lot of borage kind of seeding itself, coming up all over the place. Oh, this looks like it could be some more potatoes here. But I have about 4 or 5 different varieties of potatoes just kind of thrown in there. And then also under this shade cloth over here, I planted some radishes, and they're just starting to come up. I planted those a few, 4 or 5 days ago maybe. So we'll see how those do out here. Okay, I think that concludes our garden update. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.